the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVWeek, episode 171, recorded Friday, November 28th, 2014. Screen creep.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing. Scan.
Screen week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio, visual, news, and information. My name is Tim Albright. I'm your host. Welcome. Happy day after Thanksgiving. If you're watching this live, I do hope that your levels of tryptophan have subsided. If you're shopping on Black Friday still, like my wife is, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Eastern, God help you all. So, all right. First up, George Tucker, engineering coordinator for World Stage and the world's most beautiful lover of alliteration, George Tryptophan Tucker. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, recovering. It was a late night, too much wine, too much turkey, but it was enjoyed by all.
Good. Also with us is Harry Meade. Harry is, his lower third says behind enemy lines because he's actually just outside of Pittsburgh, PA. And Harry is a Ravens fan. So how are you, sir?
Pretty good. I actually even managed to survive going to the gym this morning with my Ravens hat on.
Wow.
Impressive.
Wow.
Yes.
It helps that they're better than the Steelers this year.
Actually, everybody in the AFC North is pretty much tied up in almost first.
Could be worse. You
better
could be
than almost every other division.
You could be a fan of somebody in the NFC South. So, if you didn't see those yesterday and you're a fan of football, I think the Falcons are leading it at 4-7. So
I heard somebody who was an NFC South fan actually posted, I think the NFC South should just give up its playoff spot to the AFC North and just be done with it.
No, see, I think the Bears should go into the NFC South because then they could actually win a spot in the playoffs. So, speaking of the Bears, my buddy, my pal, Sam Malik from ASK Proxima, a beautiful Bears logo behind him because he is originally from Chicago. How are you, sir?
Hey, Tim. How you doing? Yeah, Bears fan to the end, even after yesterday's embarrassing loss.
You know what? At least it wasn't that Packers game from a couple weeks ago. That one was... I had a cousin of mine.
That's an old-fashioned beatdown.
Yeah, that was indeed. That was indeed, and it was the hands of the Packers, not which just kind of made it worse. All right.
I don't watch football, and I knew about it.
Oh, thank you. By the way, did you see? Speaking of George is a hockey,
even by people who don't normally watch.
Yeah, George is
I was gonna say if Tucker knows about it and it's in football, that's bad.
Our friend and our buddy Bradford Ben is a hockey fan, just like Mr. Tucker is a huge one. I'm a cursory fan. I'm in St. Louis, so we have the Blues. There you go. Bradford is a huge Devils fan, and the Blues have signed Mr. Martin Brodeur.
They have signed him.
Yeah. Well, they're bringing him in for some workouts, but I saw that, and I was like, Bradford should know about that. So, all right, let's talk some AV. This week we're going to talk about the world's biggest and most expensive piece of digital signage. I'll give you two guesses where it is, and the first one doesn't count. It's actually in Times Square. Talk about scope creep.
You didn't give me a chance to guess.
I'm sorry. I'll give you a chance next when we actually talk about it. Showrooming and InfoComm has released their list of classes during ISE 2015. So we'll talk about that. But first, something that we've been talking about kind of off and on the last couple months on this show is getting home automation into Middle America, getting home automation into the middle income range. And to that end, interesting piece this week from CE Pro and our friend Julie Jacobson. Home Depot has hired a dedicated home automation director. Quote, Home Depot has made some valiant efforts in the home automation business so far, launching the Wink smart home platform in July. of this year and slowly adding to the store's smart home offerings. That is changing now with the appointment of Amanda Perilli as Home Depot's first director of home automation, hired recently to champion the category both internally and to the masses. End quote. Mr. Tucker, what does this mean for the home automation segment, especially in trying to get into the middle income arena for home automation?
I'm not sure. Everybody's making a stab at it. Just like we talked a few weeks back, AT&T with their Uverse and other companies trying to become the dog. We're still in the shakeout period. Everybody's trying to get an angle. Everyone's trying to see if their install base or their common customer base is the one that will take off and make them much more money using and making this happen. I'm not quite clear with Home Depot because here's my fear. When Julie first tweeted this story out and with a link back to CE Pro, my first response was, yeah, for the first 4 months it'll be fantastic, and then they're going to hire the Walmart door greeters to be the guys in the front of it, because that's what happens at every Home Depot. You get the really good guys, and then about 4 months down the line, they get rid of all the good plumbers and they put them into the new store that's opening, and they leave the local guys who most of them don't know what they're talking about. I think it's going to be just much the same for them. I don't think even with an evangelist, they're really dedicated to it. I don't see it.
That is kind of what she almost part of her job description, right? Not only championing this internally, but also quote unquote to the masses. She is kind of an evangelist. That's almost like her job description. And some of that seems to be, pushing a rock uphill a little bit. Because lots of people have tried, right? I mean, Nest has made a great headway. But Nest is kind of more in the Internet of Things camp than the control, and home automation camp. Yes, it's an automated thermostat because it learns, your life and when you're home and when you're not and what you like temperature wise. But it's not, it's not a full automation suite. So, Sam, we'll ask you the same question. Before you went to ASK, you were also involved in your earlier iterations of your career. You did a lot with consumer electronics and dealing with the public. What does this mean for trying to get into middle market with home automation?
I think it's an interesting approach. The Home Depot near me, I was in there last weekend quite a bit, and I saw the display, the Wink Nest display. Nobody there knew anything about what the product was. I reviewed the article, comments from Amanda Perilli. I think, first of all, they need a face more like George Tucker to be that evangelist. It's going to make it a more believable story. Amanda's probably a very educated person in terms of marketing and how to reach the market, but she's not the face of home automation at Home Depot. I would much more believe somebody like George. George, you got a believable face. But I went in and asked some. I went in and asked some questions. They had no idea how it hooked up. They said probably go online is the best way to learn about the product, and it was kind of disappointing. I just upgraded my HVAC system here at the house, and I was very interested in that type of control. But it's a $400 starting investment plus the add-on pieces, and I don't know, just didn't get me excited enough to pull the trigger and do anything.
Okay, so that first of all, they're going to have to work on the price point on that, right? Because both AMX and Crestron have starter kits that are just over $50 or $100 than that. And granted, I'm in the industry, but I would tend to trust Crestron or AMX to my home automation than I would something called Wink. So.
Well, but you're still forgetting is that it's the do-it-yourself.
Yeah.
I want this home automation. I want that lifestyle, but I don't want to pay a lot, and I don't want this guy coming into my house.
But yeah, okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
I mean, that's really the thing, isn't it? I mean, you install your own TVs these days. Back in the 50s, they brought a radio guy, and a radio guy would make sure it was properly set up and would put an antenna up for you.
Made sure your tubes were correct.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a great market opportunity for the CEDIA installers, the guys that have been going into homes and hooking up TVs and hanging plasmas on wall or projectors. And those are the guys that are trusted and generally work for a little bit less. they're the home automation guys that I think most people would trust, and they've already got an inroad into that market.
Yeah. All right, Harry, you are our token programmer for the day. What does this mean from your standpoint? Granted, you do more government work, but from a programmer standpoint, what does this mean for automation and home programming?
I think that it will be. I don't think it's going to take anything really away from the companies that are doing it. You're going to get the little tiny jobs are going to come out of this.
Okay.
You're not. Nobody's going to use something like this for a 5,000 square foot home that they're doing multiple zones of all this other happiness and everything else. What I've noticed with Home Depot, especially in their home networking, home, I guess, automation, but in smart home, I guess, to pull a term from a couple of years ago, they have a bunch of parts, and they have a bunch of things that you can do in order to get these things done. My house has been wired up almost exclusively with Home Depot parts. Home Depot box from Leviton that has the punch down block in it for all my phone and network stuff, all the wall plates, everything else. So that this seems like just a natural outgrowth of that, because again, they're not going to have your full scale big stuff, but they're going to be able to have somebody who wants to turn on and off a few lights with all of the Lutron that they have in the next aisle, and then be able to control their thermostat, control a couple of things, and not have to have a salvaged AMX system from 1995 like I do.
And some X10 thrown in there for good measure. So
you got to rub the X10 in me.
You do.
Just got to rub it in.
No, it's a good thing. You're such a fabulous engineer that your X10 is still working.
Only because I rapidly figured out that CFLs don't work with it after I burned out 2 of my friggin' dimmers.
Let me ask a little bit wider question, because this is something that I deal with, and Harry and I have talked about this a little bit. Could this, if this new director gets the evangelism going, right, and to Sam's point, nobody at the Home Depot knew anything about this. If she can get the troops, I guess, as it were, in Home Depot ramped up and educated on how this works and evangelizing it from the storefront out, could this be a new frontier? Not frontier. That's too grandiose. But a new.
All right, Shatner.
Thank you. I just watched the new Star Wars trailer.
So did I.
It was awesome.
I watched it just before I got on here.
It was really cool. So
I was gonna say, let's talk about the real news. Star Wars trailer dropped today.
Could this be a new source for burgeoning programmers, Harry? I mean, some people that are interested in this enough to it piques their interest, and hey, I'd like to know more. And so we go, okay, here's a more complicated version of what you're doing. Possibly, because you've always I think it's going to appeal to the tinkerers. The guys who mess around with their house. Like before I even got into AV, and I was using X10, and I was setting timers, and I was doing different things, and all of that stuff. Even before I managed to salvage my 20-year-old AMX system, it's going to appeal to those guys, and I'm not sure how much further they want to go, because a lot of those guys are just weekend warriors that are just having fun in their house and messing around with something and giving them something to do that the wife isn't telling them how to do it. Okay,
I think it's potentially a good opportunity, Tim, because I could see an entire aisle dedicated to this technology at a Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. I think now that the smartphone technology has come forward quite a bit, iPhone 6s and the new Samsungs, etc. I want more control over things, so I think it's only going to be natural that grows more and more. The Lutron aisle is more interesting to me right now than the current home automation offerings. if I was Amanda Pirelli, I would get a supply of that product and give it to everybody that works in this store if they commit to installing it in their home, so that they become experts and know it. The profit potential on those products is huge. Even if they lower the prices that they have today, that's a new market, and they're going to make a lot more money on that than they will raw lumber. So I think they would welcome the opportunity to sell those products.
Yeah.
But if they don't educate their staff and at least give all the management, a full complement of those products to go install in their house, so that they really know how it works, what it does, how they control it. And not only that, that'll get them excited. They'll be pulling out their phone going, look, I can show you a video of my driveway, and I'm going to change my thermostat right now, and this is the coolest thing. And that's how you evangelize. That's how you get people excited about it.
I think part of what this is something we talked about back at InfoComm this year, was the fact that all it's going to take is somebody big to jump in to the home automation market. We thought it might be Apple with their Apple stuff, but I haven't heard a lot of that since it came out. But it's just going to take somebody big to jump in, and who can bully the end units a little bit more than an AMX or Crestron can into, oh, by the way, we're offering home automation. Like if Apple, just using them as an example, and I am so not an Apple evangelist, but if Apple were to come out and say, this is our home automation platform, this is our protocols, if you want to be included in our iHome automation, you need to be using these protocols, and all the manufacturers would jump on that. Whereas you can't. There's been some success with like a Crestron Inside or AMX Inside type thing with some of the display guys, but you're not going to get widespread adoption of that until somebody big jumps in. And when somebody big jumps in, say again, just using Apple as an example, it's going to be so that anyone can do it, or anyone who can operate their smartphone will be able to program their home automation system, and then it's going to jump into, well, if I can program this at home, why can't I do this at the office?
Yeah.
Which has been so many things that I've seen recently.
Well, that and wireless video is also one of those things that I can do this at home.
The problem with the Apple model, though, is that Apple changes the way they do things every quarter. I mean, we've all heard the story about the iPods back in the day when all the control manufacturers were making ports. And, of course, remember when they stopped working? Because they changed the 25-pin port configuration when they released the new nano colors, and nobody worked. Not the GMs, not the Hummers, not the Crestron ports, all because they went, oh, yeah, we forgot to tell you. They don't play nice with people that way, and I think that's part of why Apple's never gone really full into the home automation thing. Because home automation in that level is hard, and they don't like being bound into not being able to change with an infrastructure that they can't control. So it would be Apple products only.
Oh yeah, I think if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be either a Microsoft or a Google or something like that is going to jump in. I think of the big ones, they're more likely than Apple, because Apple's going to want it to be their entire universe from front to back.
Yeah, they want the infrastructure along with everything else.
Well, and one of the
Uverse has an opportunity, I suppose. Home Depot might, but here's my problem with the Home Depot thing. And you said that maybe it'll bring somebody in who's interested. I think you'll get the person who wants it in their house, but the hobbyist who then makes it to the next level of being a programmer, probably not. And for two quick, one, the chips and brains are getting much smarter, and they're going to do more for you. So there's really not any thought process other than maybe a logic tree of when I have this light on, that light goes off, or it's a three-way switch, not a two-way switch. And second, they don't really want a lot of flexibility needs, because the idea with Home Depot is selling boxes. They're cheap to make. You make a profit off the volume. That's what you're selling, is volume. You're not selling the other services. You're not making money off the software from people like Home Depot buyers. You're making money on boxes. And that's a limited thing to make money off of and still keep it flexible and have that next level set. I just don't see it.
But they could, though. I mean, I guess I'm going back to AV World. where one of the buzzwords is services, right? Most integrators that I talk to nowadays, they're still trying to put together a business plan that revolves around, or at least has a component of selling services to their clients. Because, whether it's, a maintenance agreement, or it's, taking care of things remotely, a lot of integrators are trying to ramp that up. And Home Depot could, or any other box store, instead of just selling the boxes, they could create, this whole services model where, yes, you're selling the boxes, but you're also selling other things too. So
They could, but do they actually? I mean, they would pretty much have to follow some of the same way it appears they're doing some of their other things, like HVAC or Windows or whoever else is sitting there at the front when you walk in through the door, as being a third party working for Home Depot. So in that way they may bring in some of the Cedia type guys. They may have, okay, we're going to give you this territory. You can show up on a Saturday and have your display in Home Depot and get people to sign up for a consultation. And you'll use the products that are in the back, but you'll make them all work. And
yeah, that sounds.
I just don't see Home Depot going into the services thing. They would have done it years ago. Did they do it with anything else?
They third party everything, and it doesn't work right.
I had to put in a screen door once. It sucked.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. That's why I say I think if they do anything, it's going to be a third party situation, and it hasn't worked out great so far. So I wouldn't hold out much hope that it's going to work out great now.
Yeah, I have a built-in handyman to put in my screen doors. It's called my dad. So
Really?
Seriously, I'm 40 years old and I'm still learning how to do things from him. So, just I guess because he knows too much, and every once in a while he'll teach me something new. So, all right, Harry, where's the biggest display in the world?
My house after Black Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Good night. Times Square, a 24 million LED pixel screen. It's been touted as the world's largest high-definition digital signage. This sucker is 100 yards long and 8 stories tall. If you want it for a month, it'll be a cool $2.5 million, and the first company to sign up for it, Google, just because they have $2.5 million just lying around, and they wanted to do it. Harry, we'll kick this off with you. What does this say about the state of digital signage and displays in general? That, first of all, we can do this, and secondly, we have done this.
It says that A, we can do anything, and B, Blade Runner is right around the corner.
Very nice. Very well done.
Dystopia, here we come.
Dystopia, here we go. So that and Hunger Games is the #1 movie. So, Sam, what does this say about the digital signage market and the display market in general that we have created? Somebody has created, not me personally, but we have created a freaking 100-foot by 800-foot display.
Well, now the personal tanning is out of the question for New York because you can just walk in front of the sign and turn whatever color you want. Advertising-wise, when I was with Toshiba, we put up an LED signboard right below where the ball drops, and we paid $4 million to have that sign up there for 2 years plus the cost of the sign. So, obviously it gets you a lot of recognition. A sign that big is that's just insane. I thought the most impressive LED sign was the one hanging in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium up until I watched the video this morning of the one in Times Square. Did some quick show prep, and at $140 million and 300,000 people a day visit or see this sign, your cost per impression is $1.27 per person, which is not very high.
No.
You can pay off that sign in a year. God, that's obnoxious, though. That thing was just huge and bright, and it was incredible. I watched the countdown and watched it light up, and then people started beeping their horns and everything, and I don't know if it was because of the sign or just usual New York City traffic. From a digital signage perspective, I mean, there is no limit at this point. I mean, that is huge. And I noticed it wrapped all the way around the building. The video was wrapping around the building. Incredible feat in terms of programming, brightness. I'd love to see the service contract on that. So when a panel or some pixels go out, that's got to be a lot of fun. You don't know whose LED product that is inside, do you?
I do not personally. Does anybody else know what who they use for inside that?
I do not, but I suspect it might be one of the Chinese men.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, just incredible display. So hurrah for digital signage and whoever installed that beast, whoever has to maintain it. But, I mean, you could literally wrap anything at this point. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Tucker, you are, geographically the closest one to us. To that. I did some research and read some New York Times articles and a few BBC did a couple stories on it and interviewed some New Yorkers, and it was 50-50. It was half, oh my lord, it's obnoxious, like Sam said, and the other half was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. First of all, from the AV standpoint, and then I want to get your perspective as a New Yorker. What does it say about where we are in AV that we're able to accomplish this?
Well, it means that, first of all, digital signage is the king of all media. It's especially in a place like Times Square in New York. That we can do it is amazing. I mean, we've talked about what my company, World Stage, did with some upfronts. I mean, something like 1,142 of those barcode tiles in a single moving set. I mean, there's really cool stuff you can do with these things now. They are at the age and the maturity and reliability that, and especially outside, that thing's going to last a good long time, long enough, as Sam said, to make your money back on your impression per person, and what they sell, they sell. It is a really cool technology. You can map stuff with this. You can make all kinds of dimensional. It could really freak people out if you map it correctly and get some of that graphics done right. What I think it says about Times Square is that print is dead. There is no billboard.
Yeah.
I mean, this is by CBS. CBS owns all those billboards and all those things out here in New York. That's one of their major businesses. But it is pretty darn incredible. Walking past it is bright as all get out. But it's more of a distraction, but that's Times Square. You either are looking up with your mouth agog, or you're in a car or walking straight ahead with your head down going, get out of my way, tourist. So it's one of the two things happening.
Good night.
You've got all the people lining up to the uber cheap clothing stores from all over the world and having their pictures taken when they show up on screen. And then you got the New Yorkers going, get out of my way, I want to go to work. Get out of my way, I want to go to home.
Get out of my way, I need a bagel and a coffee.
So, Sam, what were they honking at? I think they were honking at the fact that the film crews were in their way. Get out of the way.
Have places to go and people to yell at,
Yes, exactly.
All right. This comes from, the article is from AV Network, but I saw this, I tweeted it, I favorited it, I did everything I could. This article made me jump up and down and go, yes, please. Scope creep, inevitable, preventable, and manageable. I think they might be a little naive about the preventable and manageable, the preventable part, but hey. They go on to say the article starts out with the right practices in place can minimize, not eliminate, minimize unexpected changes in project breadth.
Waffling right from the beginning.
Yeah, a little bit. George, from your standpoint, and World Stage not only does really wonderful live upfront, the upfronts for a number of the major broadcasters, but you guys also do installs as well.
Broadcast, yeah.
No, but you also do installs as far as AV installs. You've got
not anymore. We used
anymore.
To.
Okay,
we do broadcast.
All right, broadcast. But you still do projects. How do we manage scope creep?
Well, I mean, first of all, isn't this what Apex is about?
Yes.
From InfoComm. Right off the bat there, you're talking about process, procedures, and having everything written out. One of the things the article does go into, he says, hey, you can show technologically what's supposed to happen, and they can sort of accept that. Your scope creep gets into, changing the touchscreen 500 times, right? Because they didn't like that color of purple, or the button was too far to the left, or they want Aunt B's picture in the corner. I don't know. But one of the things they mentioned was where it gets installed, the aesthetics of how that projector is hung, or that monitor, or where that equipment is. That's really sort of something where I think a lot of companies need to hire an artist of some sort, or you get your CAD guy to show it in that Rivet file how it would look in the living room. Because you get the people who would say, oh my God, that's great, I want the smoked glass window with all the lights behind it because I'm showing it off in my house. And then you get a large portion of those people who want it hidden away in the basement, and it's only the interface that you ever see. And those two things can really cause you a lot of grief and scope creep. And you need to be talking to your client all the time. Hey, we finished phase 1. I'm a big fan of phased contracts.
Yeah.
Phase 1, we're going to do this. Phase 2, we're going to do that. At the beginning of phase 2, we're going to sit down and go, here's what happened in phase 1, here's where we're going. Changes? Are we all in agreement? Good, because they can never be that, well, I didn't know. And it's hard, it's a lot of work, but it's the only thing I've ever seen really work to say that's how you stop losing money on these creeps.
Yeah, Sam, that was one thing that always gets me, is the fact that, scope creep is not only annoying, it's a cost. It tends to suck your profit out of a project. So from a manufacturer's standpoint, which you have been for quite a few years, how do you help the client, your client, and the end user work around scope creep and managing it?
Yeah, I don't know that we have a lot of input from the manufacturer standpoint. I agree with Dale Botcher from AVI-SPL that your installer is kind of the first responder, right? They have to kind of be on the watch, listening to what's going on, not just banging in equipment, but there's cues. It's like playing poker with somebody. You got to watch for the tells, right? And you've been out on one job after another. You have to, pay attention to what's going on around you, because you'll get a reaction. I agree that as each step, as you complete each part of the job, you have a checklist. Hey, we're at this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. That can eliminate it. One of the frustrating things, or the angle that I saw on this discussion item, is I work with a lot of architects and consultants. And what we've realized is on education, school installations, K through 12 for projectors, the consultants are copying, cut and paste previous jobs. So they're really not going to the site. They're not researching the job. And they just cut and paste, well, this is another school with 45 classrooms, and we're going to use this product and this mount. And they just cut and paste it together without actually doing the proper research. So then when you're the integrator and you're out on site and you start to install that gear, and you realize it was a cookie cutter cut and paste type of project that the consultant recommended, that's when you get into problems, because they never actually were on site. They never saw the job. They just spec'd the bid for 45 classrooms without knowing that there's asbestos on the ceiling, or there's HVAC exposed pipes that are halfway between the projector and the screen, and all these types of things. And that's what I've seen a lot more of lately. And you're right, the integrator, the dealer, the installer, they can give up all their profit very quickly when they run into these problems because it wasn't spec'd properly. The trend I've seen lately, being on the projector business with ASK Proxima, is that many of the dealers, the integrators, are walking away through the K through 12 business, which was a mainstay 5 years ago. And they're more focused on the corporate side of things, because it's documented. There's a contract. Here's what you're going to get. Here's what we're going to do. This is what you can expect the final result is. This is when we expect to get paid. And it goes smoothly like that, versus a board of advisors in a school system that's really not technology people, and they really don't know. They know they want to have an image on the screen for the instructor to use, the teacher, but they're just not professional about the installs like you would find in a more corporate type environment. So yeah, it's a big concern. If you're not a professional company and you have this down and you know how to go out and do a job, install it, and get it done, potentially it could be a big loss for your company as these, ideas, problems, suggestions come up that change the scope of the install from what was originally bid or planned.
Yeah, absolutely. Harry, from your standpoint, it's at your company CCS on the East Coast, how do we manage these things?
It's got to start For me, it's got to start with setting expectations at a sales level right from the get-go. Setting expectations and working with whomever you're working with within your company to craft a scope of work that's tight. You need a tight scope of work so that you have something to refer back to when you're finished of, okay, we accomplished A, B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D. Bam, done. It works. It's to spec. Now buy it. No.
Now sign off.
Now sign off. And a lot of times what I'll do, because I flip back and forth wearing a bunch of different hats, what I'll do is I'll tell the customers, okay, you're already starting to notice a couple of little things that you may or may not like. We give you, I think we give them 45 days, 60 days, something like that, of come up with, if there's something that's not functioning the way that you want, control system wise, we'll come out at the end of that period and take care of the nips, tucks, whatever that had to happen with that. But also drive it for a little while and then see if there's another function that you really wanted that wasn't necessarily covered in this. And then that's when we come in with a possible change order. For an example, I've been working on a system or a bunch of systems in a building for a company, and we kind of had three models. We had the small conference room, we had a medium conference room, and the boardroom. The boardroom had a bunch of bells and whistles, projector comes out of the ceiling, a couple of beamformer mics, it's all good. Medium was scaled down, no VTC. Smalls were basically a Mondo pad on the wall with some DM to get it from the table. They're doing some work on another floor, and they've decided they want to put in another small conference room. But they said, okay, so we see how we're using the small conference rooms now for the last 6 months. We want to go ahead and add Apple TV into it because we've standardized on iStuff. And we want to have a little bit of background control in it so that somebody, when they lose the remote, you can still operate it easily. And so they've added that to that small conference room, and now we're going to go back and we're going to do it to the other two that were in the initial job to bring them up to the new spec.
Yeah.
So that's how we've been trying to roll, is drive it for a little while, then start figuring out what you want to do.
And see, that to me makes sense, right? What doesn't make sense, and this is where some of the scope creep happens a lot of times, the client, and you can do this in residential or you can do this in commercial. It goes either way, where either they'll read something, they'll see something, or they'll visit someone else's facility, and they'll say, "Hey, by the way, I thought this was really neat. Can we do this?" I don't care what this is. And the answer from the salesperson 9 times out of 10 is, yes, absolutely. And the answer from the engineer and the programmer's standpoint is, excuse me, you did what? You said we could do what? Yes, that can be done. Yes, I can change out an entire VTC and, get the directory and this, that, and the other, which, you didn't tell me you wanted to do except for, 5 minutes ago. Yes, that's possible. It will also take, a couple of hours of engineering, 3 pieces of equipment, and the programmers will take another 5 or 6 hours to reprogram what you just added. So yes, it is possible, but you just either cost the customer more money or sucked a bunch of profit out of the project. So
well, and that's what we've been trying to teach the salespeople. Yes, that can be done. Let me get a price for you on that.
Exactly. Yes.
That's the second half of that sentence is the important part. Mm-hmm. Let me get a price for you on that because it ain't free.
No.
Okay, and I've been having a minor battle over getting people to pay for design. It's like, Well, how many hours do you think we're sitting in the back working on your jobs to make them function?
None. It's magic. It just happens.
Cookie cutter thing.
Go ahead, George. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on you.
No, I stepped on you. Go ahead.
That comes back to Sam saying there's the cookie cutter thing. Why are there cookie cuttering? Because no one wants to pay for the design, so you're given a pro forma template. I hope I said that right.
I think you did. Yeah.
To use because it's the inexpensive way to do it, and then the install guys should figure it out before they go on with a site survey saying, hey, we have to buy X amount of dollars more in mounts or stuff to get this mount to work. But that's what they're doing it for. Design is important. You're right, Harry. I'm right with you, and yes, it can be done. Here, let me get a price. But they don't want to pay for design, so everyone's just putting out cookie cutters and saying, we'll make it work. We'll fix it in the mix. It doesn't always work
Fix
out,
it in post, yeah.
Fix it in post.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and some of that's also probably, and I don't know this for a fact, but this is my own 2 cents, probably the rise in popularity of the huddle space is some of that, right? You throw a display up there, you hook up a couple cables. Yeah, maybe you've got something that manages it in the middle, whether it's wireless or wired, but well, how much is it? How long does it take to design that?
It's all internets.
It's all internets. It's all wireless. So, all right, guys. It's the day after Thanksgiving, and we're gonna, kind of wrap this one up a little early. Real quickly, InfoComm has released their list of courses, and I say InfoComm for ISE 2015 because ISE, Integrated Systems Europe, is half InfoComm and half CEDIA. So CEDIA will release theirs probably this week, actually. But InfoComm has released theirs. They're doing needs and analysis for end user requirements, digital audio protocols, design documentation and tendering, understanding multi-channel projection, 4K and streaming. Yay! That one will be interesting. Collaboration in the BYOD era. Network administrators, cracking the code. That one is, that one's needed. And then in-store analysis, analytics rather. Improve the ROI of your digital signage solution and enhance your customer experience at the same time. We'll put a link up to this story and also how you can apply to go to ISE 2015. And we're trying to go to ISE 2015. We've done a Kickstarter thing.
Halfway there.
We're halfway there. We got about a week to go, depending on when you watch and or listen to this podcast. It ends on the 10th of December. So if you can't give us anything, just pass it along to somebody, your rich uncle or somebody right there. It's about $10,000 to send 3 of us. The more we get, the more guys and gals we can bring. So check that out if you would, please. There's a link on the show notes. So, all right, gentlemen. Sam Malik from ASK Proxima. Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How can people get a hold of you or ASK Proxima?
www, I guess we don't have to say that anymore, askproximausa.com.
All right,
We've got videos on all the product, all that good stuff there. And speaking on the ISE thing, I don't know if you guys have ever been there. It's a fantastic show, 3 or 4 times the size of a U.S. InfoComm and very unique. So I think it'll be very interesting for you and all the listeners to attend.
Yeah, we are certainly hoping. I have not personally ever been. I don't think George has either. So yeah, we are certainly hoping to hit it up. Harry Meade from CCS Mid-Atlantic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, before you ask the question,
yes.
Mr. AV Dawn on Twitter, since I'm still underneath her friggin' shadow.
You should change it.
I'm seriously thinking about it now that I've actually tweeted more than just 6 weeks around InfoComm.
Yes.
Have you noticed that I have still been tweeting?
I have noticed. Although here's the thing, it's very cute and romantic from a whole touchy-feely, squishy perspective. It is. She's AV Dawn. You're Mr. AV Dawn. It's very cute.
I was gonna say, wait till you see the Christmas sweaters. Anyway,
okay.
The AV sweater competition.
Yes.
But so that may change. But yeah, using the hashtag still tweeting. But yeah, Mr. AV Dawn, Harry Meade on Facebook, Harry Meade on LinkedIn, all that other happiness. CCS Mid-Atlantic is our website. and you can see us there.
Very cool. All right. Last and certainly not least, the left side of my brain, Mr. George Tucker from World Stage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And they can find me at Tucker2's Commercial Integrator, various other publications. I'm out there.
Tech
Put in my name,
Decisions.
you'll find it.
Yeah, Tech Decisions as well.
Yeah, Tech Decisions on occasion when I can write a nice missive.
Jeez. All right. Yeah, don't follow me. It's boring. It's usually about bears, and yesterday it wasn't pretty. But go by the website if you would, please, AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. Goodness gracious. There's an awful lot of people writing for us and doing things that are really cool. We have two brand spanking new shows. One is the Tech Rap with our buddy Phil Cordell, who has penned and recorded a song for the aforementioned AV sweater competition, which we'll get to in a second. And our buddy Tony Zotti has started one about AV networking called the POE Show. So check that out if you would, please. Also, with our friend John Green at Advanced AV, we are putting together we're calling it an AV sweater competition. Some people have referred to it as the ugly Christmas sweater or the ugly holiday sweater competition. If that's the angle you want to take, but we're calling it the AV sweater competition. If you're on social media, it's the hashtag AV sweater. So just take a picture of yourself and your AV sweater, and the winning, the best or worst, however you want to look at it, AV sweater will get some nice gift cards from the guys at Advanced AV. So
mine's electrified.
That's cool. You know, that right there is it LEDs or incandescents?
Yeah.
LEDs.
LEDs. Only the best.
You know what? If somebody can come up with one that has incandescent lighting, that would be killer. Or track lighting. So, but yeah, check that out.
When it comes to my AV sweater, I think I'm just going to go with wind power.
Solar. All right. Yeah, so check that out. AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been AV Week.